See, I just want us to get that straight first. Because see, that's important. Until like John says, when Jesus came into the picture, John says, I have to decrease. Hey, there's one greater than me. Yeah. He's come after me, but he was before me. Oh, you hear what I'm saying? I'm not even fit to wear the shoes to climb up on this. Amen. All right? So I must decrease and he must increase. So the first thing we got to recognize is that we got to put the right person increasing in our lives. And that person is Jesus Christ. It's not your boss. It's not your boyfriend. It's not your girlfriend. It's not your husband. It's not your wife. It's not your children. It's not your pastor. It's not your deacons. It's Jesus. It's Jesus. So Lord goes on to say something here. He says, what we have to recognize here is something in what this word talks about. See, he was talking to Jews, and Jews had these concepts about in their mind because they grew up in their society. Jews had been told that the nation of Israel was divine. You know, just like today, some people think being a Democrat is divine. Amen. Being a Republican is divine. Being a Baptist or being a Catholic or being a Presbyterian is divine. Amen. See, we have all these different vines. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah. He says you have to recognize that all these other vines that you have, they're not the life source. Amen. He says what's important is your relationship to me. He makes it clear that you should not have your identification with a religion or a ceremony or a person or situations, but your identification as a Christian should be with him. Amen. Amen. With him. Because who you identify with is who you go to with for your help. Who you identify with most is your source of counsel, is the one that you depend upon and rely upon, the person for your trust lies. Amen. 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 I want to go a little further here because there's something here that the Lord is saying. When you look at this, now he says, in this whole thing, he says, every branch. Who's the branch? Every branch. Does that include you, Pastor? Yeah. Yes. Does that include the deacons? Yes. What about the preachers? Yes. What about the directors? Yes. What about every man and woman in the pew? Yes. He says, every branch in me. Every branch in me. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purges it. Yes. Lord have mercy. Yes. That it may bring forth more fruit. Yes. Every branch that beareth not fruit. You remember the fig tree situation? Fig tree. Oh, you're a fig tree? But I never see you bear figs. I thought you said you were a fig tree. So Jesus comes by and he says, the fig tree, is that what it's called? It looks like a fig tree. It's shaped like a fig tree. Right? For all intents and purposes, by observation, you would say that's a fig tree. But there's one thing missing. I've been by here before and I didn't see any figs. And I'm by here again and I still don't see any figs. How can you claim to be a fig tree if you don't produce figs? How then can you proclaim to be a Christian, he's saying, and drawing the corollary, if you don't produce the fruit of the Spirit? Oh, Lord have mercy. Because every tree that claims to be what it is ought to produce what it says it is. And so if I see an orange tree producing apple, then something's up with that orange tree. It can't be an orange tree because an orange tree don't produce apples. Amen, somebody. I want it to produce what it is, not to produce what it is not. Because if it produces something other than what it's not, then it can't be what it says it is. So a Christian ought to be producing the fruit of the Spirit. Now, if there's a fruit of the Spirit, there must be something contrary to the fruit of the Spirit. And so what I did, I went over to Galatians 5:19. And I looked at Galatians 5:19, and I looked at Galatians 5:19 through 23, and I saw that there's a fruit of the Spirit, and there is, contrary to that, a work of the flesh. Amen. So Jesus is saying, if you are in me, you ought to be producing or living a life that is representative of, though it may be imperfect of, but representative of the fruit of the Spirit and not the works of the flesh.
Amen.
Because if I see more works of the flesh materializing than I do fruit of the Spirit, then you cannot be a branch in the vine.
Amen.
And if you're not a branch in the vine, I'm going to cast you away.
Amen.
Amen. Now, I want to show you something real quick. I want you to look at something, and contrary to this, I want you to see that prior to me and you becoming born again, here's what should have happened. Everybody who is not of Christ is living works of the flesh. Watch this now. But as we begin to be born, as we're born and begin to grow in our sanctification, we begin to not have a lifestyle and a day-to-day existence in the works of the flesh, and we begin to move more towards producing the fruit of the Spirit.
Amen.
Our character, our attitude, what we impart to people, what we are enabled by God to give to people, goes from works of the flesh, being the predominant thing, that's all I got to offer, to the fruit of the Spirit. Now watch this in 19.